In the American colonies in 1775, revolts in many cities like Boston were becoming commonplace. Life was fraught with political tension. The atmosphere was thick with defiance. Citizens were increasingly vocal about their opposition to British policies and taxation. The root of much of this anger was the British Tea Act of 1773, which gave the East India Company a monopoly on tea sales. On December 16, 1773, a group of Sons of Liberty boarded 3 ships docked at the wharf and threw chests of tea into Boston Harbor. Parliament responded with what colonists called the Intolerable Acts. On March 31, 1774, they passed the Boston Port Act. This act closed Boston's port to all ships, no matter the type of business. It was a crippling blow to the city's economy. Colonial resistance only intensified. Local militia and Minutemen began training more rigorously across the Massachusetts countryside. They began storing weapons and ammunition in towns outside of Boston, particularly in Concord, anticipating a move from the British. In April 1775, British General Gage received secret orders. His mission was to capture the colonists' stored weapons in Concord. General Gage sent his elite troops to Concord with specific instructions: capture the weapons and disarm the local militia entirely. But the colonists had their own intelligence network. The warning system was activated as soon as the British troops began to move. Early warnings were carried by Revere, Dawes, and Prescott. They rode through the countryside shouting, "The regulars are coming." The British route took them through Lexington. At dawn, they were met by a small group of local Minutemen on the town green. The fighting started at Lexington. It was a brief but deadly encounter, and the British won the day, continuing their march toward Concord. The British reached Concord, but the Americans were waiting at the North Bridge. This time, the outcome would be very different. The Battle of Concord was won by the Americans. The British retreat back to Boston became a harrowing gauntlet of fire. The losses were staggering for the time. There were 78 American casualties, while the British suffered a significant 250 casualties. Geography played a major role. If we look at the map, Concord is located farthest west of Boston, which dictated the British route. Important waterways and forts around Boston were also influential factors, as both sides sought to control strategic supply lines. The war wasn't just in Massachusetts. In late 1775, the Americans launched an expedition into Canada. The Battle of Quebec happened farthest north. Despite their efforts, Britain won this battle and held on to Canada. As the fighting continued, the political landscape shifted. On July 4, 1776, the final draft of the Declaration of Independence was approved. This document was approved by 56 delegates to the Second Continental Congress. It was the birth certificate of a new nation. John Hancock was the first to sign the document. He signed it largely so King George wouldn't need his spectacles to see it. But the war was far from over. Following the declaration, New York experienced the most fighting of any region in the colonies. In December 1776, Thomas Paine wrote these words to the American army: "These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country." But Washington took that inspiration and acted. On Christmas night, 1776, he led his troops across the icy Delaware River. It was the Battle of Trenton. This victory was important because it improved U.S. morale and convinced many soldiers to re-enlist. At the end of 1776, each side faced massive challenges. America had a young, inexperienced army, a lot of land to defend, and no navy. Britain had its own hurdles. They had to control a vast coastline and thousands of miles of land, all with England 3,000 miles away. To wrap up our lesson, let's review the journey we've taken today. From the protests in Boston Harbor to the freezing banks of the Delaware, the path to independence was paved with sacrifice. In 1773, we saw the Tea Act, followed by the Port Act in 1774. Then, April 1775 brought Lexington and Concord. The Declaration was signed on July 4, 1776, followed by the victory at Trenton that December. Thank you for joining today's history session. Stay curious.